A doctor and his wife were having a big argument at breakfast. "You aren't so good in bed either," he shouted and stormed off to work. By mid-morning, he decided he'd better make amends and phoned home. After many rings, his wife picked up the phone. "What took you so long to answer?" "I was in bed." "What were you doing in bed this late?" "Getting a second opinion." A wife says to her husband, "If I died in a foreign city, say Jerusalem, and it cost $30,000 to send me back home or $500 to bury me there, which would you choose?" The husband replies, $30,000 to ship you back. The wife, happy but surprised with his answer, asks, "Really? Why would you choose $30,000 over $500? The husband explains, "Because 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, a man died and rose from the dead 3 days later. I can't take that chance." A newlywed woman bursts into the doctor's office, panic written all over her face. She's got a banana in one ear, a cucumber in the other, and a carrot shoved up her nose. Frantically, she exclaims, "Doctor, help! What's wrong with me?" The doctor takes one long look, sighs, and says, "Well, for starters, it looks like your diet needs some serious adjustments." A young bride was scouring the aisles of the supermarket. Up and down each aisle she went, then started over again. The store manager noticed this and went over to her. "Can I help you find something, miss?" he asked. "It's Mrs.," she said proudly. "I just got married." "Congratulations," said the manager. "What can I help you find?" "Scratch," she replied. "Scratch?" he asked. "Is that a new cleanser or something?" "No, silly," she replied brightly. "My husband told me that his mother made everything from scratch, so I need to find some." An attractive young woman on a flight from Ireland asked the priest beside her, "Father, may I ask a favor?" "Of course, child. What may I do for you?" "Well, I bought my mother an expensive hairdryer for her birthday. It is unopened but well over the customs limits, and I am afraid they will confiscate it. Is there any way you could carry it through customs for me? Hide it under your robes, perhaps?" "I would love to help you, dear, but I must warn you, I will not lie. With your face, father, no one will question you." When they got to customs, she let the priest go first. The official asked, "Father, do you have anything to declare?" "From the top of my head down to my waist, I have nothing to declare." The official thought this answer strange, so asked, "And what do you have to declare from your waist to the floor?" "I have a marvelous instrument designed to be used on a woman, but which is, to date, unused." Roaring with laughter, the official said, "Go ahead, father. Next plus." There were these twin sisters just turning 100 years old in St. Luke's nursing home. And the editor of the local newspaper told a photographer to get over there and take the pictures of these 100-year-old twin biddies. One of the twins was hard of hearing, but the other could hear quite well. The photographer asked them to sit on the sofa. The deaf one said to her twin, "What did he say?" "We gotta sit over there on the sofa," said the other. "Now get a little closer together," said the cameraman. Again, "What did he say?" "He says squeeze together a little." So they wiggled up close to each other. "For just hold on for a bit longer, I got to focus a little," said the photographer. Yet again, "What did he say?" "He says he's gonna focus." With a big grin, the deaf twins shouted out, "Oh my God, both of us?" After a tiring day, a commuter settled down in his seat and closed his eyes. As the train rolled out of the station, a woman sitting next to him pulled out her mobile phone. She started talking in a loud voice. "Hi, sweetheart, it's Sue. I'm on the train." "Yes, I know it's the 6:30 and not the 4:30, but I had a long meeting." "No, honey, not with that Kevin from the accounting office. It was with the boss." "No, sweetheart, you're the only one in my life." "Yes, I'm sure, cross my heart." 15 minutes later, she was still talking loudly. When the man sitting next to her had enough, he leaned over and said into the phone, "Sue, hang up the phone and come back to bed." Sue doesn't use her mobile phone in public any longer. A man observed a woman in the grocery store with a 3-year-old girl in her basket. As they passed the cookie section, the child asked for cookies and her mother told her no. The little girl immediately began to whine and fuss, and the mother said quietly, "Now, Ellen, we just have half of the aisles left to go through. Don't be upset. It won't be long." He passed the mother again in the candy aisle. Of course, the little girl began to shout for candy. When she was told she couldn't have any, she began to cry. The mother said, There, Ellen, don't cry. Only 2 more aisles to go, and then we'll be checking out." The man again happened to be behind the pair at the checkout, where the little girl immediately began to clamour for gum and burst into a terrible tantrum upon discovering there would be no gum purchased today. The mother patiently said, "Ellen, we'll be through this checkout stand in 5 minutes, and then you can go home and have a nice nap." The man followed them out to the parking lot and stopped the woman to compliment her. "I couldn't help noticing how patient you were with little Ellen." The mother broke in. "My little girl's name is Tammy. I'm Ellen." A rabbit broke out of the laboratory where he had been born and raised. As he scurried away, he felt grass under his little feet and saw the dawn breaking for the first time in his life. "Wow," he thought, "this is great." It wasn't long before he came to a hedge. After squeezing under it, he saw a wonderful sight. Lots of other bunny rabbits, all free and nibbling at the lush grass. "Hey," he called. "I'm a rabbit from the laboratory and I've just escaped. Are you wild rabbits?" "Yes, come and join us," they cried. Our friend hopped over to them and started eating the grass. It tasted so good. "What else do you wild rabbits do?" he asked. "Well," one of them said, "you see that field there? It's got carrots growing in it. We dig them up and eat them." This he couldn't resist, and he spent the next hour eating the most succulent carrots. They were wonderful. Later, he asked them again, "What else do you do?" "You see that field there? It's got lettuce growing in it. We eat that as well." The lettuce tasted just as good, and he returned a while later, completely full. "Is there anything else you guys do?" he asked. One of the other rabbits came a bit closer to him and spoke softly. "There's one other thing you must try. You see those rabbits there," he said, pointing to the far corner of the field. "They're girls. We have love with them. Go and try it." Well, our friend spent the rest of the morning at this until completely exhausted. He staggered back over to the guys. "That was fantastic," he panted. "So are you going to live with us then?" one of them asked. "I'm sorry, I had a great time, but I can't." The wild rabbits all stared at him, a bit surprised. "Why? We thought you liked it here." "I do," our friend replied. "But I must get back to the laboratory. I'm dying for a cigarette." A psychiatrist was visiting a mental institution in California when he approached a patient and asked, "How did you end up here? What happened?" The patient sighed and said, "Well, it all started when I got married, and I probably never should have. You see, I married a widow who had a grown daughter. So she became my stepdaughter. Then my father came to visit, met my stepdaughter, fell in love, and married her. Now my stepdaughter was also my stepmother. Later, my wife and I had a son. Since he was my stepmother's half-brother, that made him my dad's brother-in-law. But wait, it gets worse. Since my stepmother was also my stepdaughter, my son was also my uncle. That made my wife a step-grandmother, because she was my stepmother's mother, which, if you do the math, makes me my wife's grandson. And since I'm married to my step-grandmother, well, that makes me my own grandfather. Now do you see why I'm here? The psychiatrist stared at him in shock for a moment before shaking his head and saying, "Move over." A father and son went fishing one day. While they were out on the water, the boy suddenly became curious about things in general and started asking all sorts of questions. He asked his father, "Why does the boat float?" The father replied, "Don't rightly know, son." A little later, the boy looked at his father and asked, "How do fish breathe underwater?" Once again, the father replied, "Don't rightly know, son." A little later, the boy asked his father, "Why is the sky blue?" Again, the father replied, "Don't rightly know, son." Finally, the boy asked his father, "Dad, do you mind my asking you all of these questions?" The father replied, "Of course not. If you don't ask questions, you never learn nothing." A drunk man who smelled like beer sat down on a subway next to a priest. The man's tie was stained, his face was plastered with red lipstick, and a half-empty bottle of gin was sticking out of his torn coat pocket. He opened his newspaper and began reading. After a few minutes, the man turned to the priest and asked, "Say, Father, what causes arthritis?" The priest replies, "My son, it's caused by loose living, being with cheap wicked women, too much alcohol, contempt for your fellow man, and lack of a bath." The drunk muttered in response, "Well, I be damned," then returned to his paper. The priest, thinking about what he had said, nudged the man and apologized. "I'm very sorry, I didn't mean to come on so strong. How long have you had arthritis?" The drunk answered, "I don't have it, Father. I was just reading here that the Pope does." A blonde was struggling to sell her old car because it had 340,000 miles on it. Frustrated, she mentioned her problem to her brunette co-worker at the bar. The brunette leaned in and said, "There's a way to sell it easier." "But it's not exactly legal." The blonde shrugged. "I don't care about that. I just need to sell this car." The brunette smirked. "All right, here's what you do. Go to my friend's repair shop. He can roll back the odometer to 40,000 miles. Then you won't have any trouble selling it." Excited, the blonde followed the plan and got the odometer adjusted. A month later, the brunette saw her and asked, "So, did you sell your car?" The blonde grinned. "Are you kidding? No way. It only has 40,000 miles on it now." Three elderly ladies were chatting about the struggles of getting older. The first one sighed and said, "Sometimes I find myself standing in front of the fridge, holding a jar of mayonnaise, wondering, was I putting it away or about to make a sandwich?" The second lady nodded. "Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Just the other day, I was standing on the staircase, completely blanking on whether I was going up or coming down." The third lady smiled confidently. "Well, I'm lucky I don't have those problems. Knock on wood." She rapped her knuckles on the table, then suddenly perked up. "Oh, someone's at the door. I'll get it." A woman accompanied her husband to the doctor's office for a checkup. After examining him, the doctor pulled the wife aside and said, your husband is suffering from severe stress. If you don't follow my instructions carefully, he won't make it." The wife listened as the doctor continued. "Each morning, make him a healthy breakfast and always be pleasant. For lunch, prepare a nutritious meal, and for dinner, make something extra special. Don't burden him with chores or stress him out with your problems. No nagging. And most importantly, make love to him regularly. If you can do this for the next 10, 12 months, he should recover completely." On the way home, the husband nervously asked, "What did the doctor say?" The wife looked at him and calmly replied, "He said you're going to die." Bob was thrilled when his company gave him a free ticket to the Super Bowl. But his excitement faded when he arrived. His seat was way up in the nosebleeds, closer to the Goodyear blimp than the field. Halfway through the first quarter, he noticed an empty seat 10 rows from the field, right on the 50-yard line. Taking a chance, he snuck down and asked the man sitting next to it, "Excuse me, is anyone sitting here?" The man shook his head. "No." Bob, now grinning from ear to ear, said, "This is unbelievable. Who in their right mind would have a seat this good at the Super Bowl and not use it?" The man sighed. "Well, actually, the seat belongs to me. I was supposed to come with my wife, but she passed away. This is the first Super Bowl we haven't been to together since we got married in 1967. Bob felt terrible. "I'm so sorry, but couldn't you find anyone? A friend or relative to come with you?" The man shrugged. "Nope, they're all at the funeral." A confident man strolls into a bar and takes a seat next to a gorgeous woman. After a quick glance at her, he casually checks his watch. Curious, the woman asks, "Waiting on someone?" "No," he replies smoothly. "I just got this high-tech watch, and I'm testing it out." Intrigued, she asks, "Oh, what's so special about it?" He grins. "It uses alpha waves to send me telepathic messages." "Oh, really? And what's it telling you right now?" she teases. He smirks. "It says you're not wearing any pants." The woman bursts out laughing. "Well, your fancy watch must be broken, because I am wearing pants." The man shakes his head and sighs. "Damn thing must be an hour fast." Joe was in big trouble. His business had failed. His bills were piling up, and he was on the verge of losing everything. In desperation, he turned to prayer. "Dear Lord, please help me. I've lost my business, and if I don't get some money soon, I lose my house too. Please let me win the lotto." Lotto night came, but someone else won. Joe prayed again. "Lord, please, I've lost my business, my house, and now my car is about to be taken. I need a miracle, just let me win the lotto." But once again, no luck. With everything falling apart, Joe prayed one last time. "God, why have you forsaken me? I've lost my business, my home, my car, my family is struggling. I've always been faithful. Just this once, please let me win the lotto so I can get my life back on track." Suddenly, a blinding flash of light filled the room, and the heavens opened. A deep, powerful voice echoed, "Joe, meet me halfway on this one. Buy a ticket." A farmer was sitting at the bar, drowning his sorrows, when a man walked in and asked, "Why are you sitting here drinking on such a beautiful day?" The farmer sighed and said, "Some things you just can't explain." "Well, what happened?" the man asked. The farmer took a deep breath and began his story. "I was milking my cow, and just as I filled the bucket, she kicked it over with her left leg. So I tied her left leg to the post. I sat back down and started milking again. Just as the bucket was almost full, she kicked it over with her right leg. So I tied her right leg to the other post. Okay? But that's not so bad, the man said. Then what? Well, the farmer continued, I sat down to milk her again, and just as I filled the bucket, she knocked it over with her tail. I was out of rope, so I took off my belt and tied her tail to the rafter. And right at that moment, my pants fell down, and my wife walked in. Some things you just can't explain. A man goes to the doctor and says, Doc, I think my wife is losing her hearing. The doctor replies, Here's a simple test. Stand at a distance and ask her a question. If she doesn't respond, move a little closer and ask again. Keep doing this until she answers. That way, you'll know how bad it is. So the man goes home and decides to try it out. He walks in the door and calls out, Honey, what's for dinner? No response. He steps a little closer. Honey, what's for dinner? Still nothing. He moves even closer and asks again. No answer. Finally, he's standing right behind her and asks one last time. Honey, what's for dinner? She turns around, frustrated, and shouts, For the 11th time, we're having meatloaf. A man in a state of excessive inebriation rolled up at a fairground rifle range booth and threw down the necessary money. The booth operator at first refused to let him have a turn, considering that his inebriated state would endanger the public. But the drunk insisted and was given a gun. He aimed unsteadily in the general direction of the target and after trying to focus, pulled the trigger 3 times. The booth owner, on inspecting the target, was astonished to see that he had scored 3 bullseyes. The star prize for the evening was a large set of glassware, but the showman was certain that the drunk wasn't aware of what he had done and gave him a consolation prize instead, a turtle. The drunk wandered off into the crowd. An hour or so later, he came back, even more drunk than before. Once again, the showman demurred. But once again, the drunk insisted, and once more scored 3 bullseyes and was given another turtle. Eventually, the drunk rolled up again and insisted on a 3rd attempt. Once more, he picked up the rifle, waved it around in the general direction of the target, and pulled the trigger 3 times. Once more, he had scored 3 bullseyes. But this time, there was an onlooker with good eyesight. That's fantastic, the man said. Hasn't he scored 3 bulls? The showman, cursing his luck, made a play of going over to the target and inspecting it closely. Yes, sir, he announced to the crowd. This is fantastic. Congratulations, sir. You have won the star prize, this magnificent 68-piece set of glassware. I don't want any asses, the drunk replied. Give me another one of those crusty meat pies. A couple was invited to a fancy masked Halloween party. The wife, feeling under the weather, told her husband to go without her while she rested. After a nap, she felt better and decided to surprise him by showing up in a different costume. What she saw shocked her. Her husband was on the dance floor, flirting, kissing, and getting cozy with every woman he could. So she decided to play along, seducing him without revealing her identity. One thing led to another, and, well, let's just say they had quite the night. At midnight, before the mask came off, she slipped away, rushed home, and acted as if nothing had happened. Later, when her husband got home, she casually asked how the party was. Oh, same old thing, he said. I never have fun when you're not there. Then she asked, Did you dance much? He chuckled. Not a single dance. I hung out with the guys playing poker all night. But from what I heard, the guy I loaned my costume to had one of a time. I had a call from a scammer the other day. Man. Hello? Woman Microsoft support. Hello, this is Bob Bobson from Microsoft support. We are seeing a lot of verse activity from your device. Man. Oh no, my device? Are you sure? Woman Microsoft support. Oh yes, we have many reports. Man, oh geez, how can I fix it? Woman Microsoft support. It's okay, sir. We can help you right now. Are you in front of your device, sir? Man, yes, I was just about to use it. I'm glad you called. Woman Microsoft support. Yes, sir, we are going to help you. Can you please push the start button? Man, I think it's already on. Woman Microsoft support. Okay, sir, now you want to click on control panel. Man, I don't see that. Woman Microsoft support. Do you see a bunch of information above the start button? Man. Yes. Woman. Microsoft support. That is your control panel. Man. Wow, I didn't realize it had a name. Woman Microsoft support. Yes, sir. Now press on Internet options. Man. Yeah, I definitely don't see any internet options. I don't think I purchased that feature. This is just a cheap one. Woman Microsoft support. They all have the internet, sir. Press the start button again. Man. Okay, it's the same as before. Woman Microsoft support. That's okay, sir. We are going to restart your device. Can you please turn it off? I don't know how. I've never turned it off. Since I bought it, it just kind of stays on all the time. Woman Microsoft support. There must be an off button on your device. How do you stop it when it's running? Man, in those cases, I usually press the big button. Woman Microsoft support. Okay, sir, please press that button. Man, okay. Woman Microsoft support. Is your device off? Man, no, the door popped open. Woman Microsoft support. Door? Is there a disc inside the door? Man, no, there's a burrito. Woman Microsoft support. Why is there a burrito in your computer? Man, computer? I thought you said this was microwave support. It was Teacher's Day, and a kindergarten teacher was receiving gifts from her students. The florist's son handed her a beautifully wrapped box. She gave it a little shake and said, "I bet I know what this is. Flowers." "That's right," the boy said excitedly. "But how did you guess?" "Just a wild guess." She smiled. Next, the candy store owner's daughter stepped up. The teacher shook the box and said, "I think I know. Is it a box of candy?" "Yes, but how did you know?" the girl asked. "Lucky guess," the teacher chuckled. Then came the liquor store owner's son. The teacher picked up the bag and noticed it was leaking a little. She touched a drop of the liquid and tasted it. "Is it wine?" she asked. "No," the boy replied. She tried again, tasting another drop. "Champagne?" "Nope," the boy said with a grin. Confused, the teacher finally asked, "Okay, I give up. What is it?" With a big smile, the boy shouted, "It's a puppy!" A blonde was tired of all the blonde jokes and people questioning her intelligence. So she decided to change things up. She cut and dyed her hair, got a makeover, and took off for a drive in the countryside. While cruising along, she came across a large herd of sheep blocking the road. Curious, she stopped her car and walked over to the shepherd. "If I can guess the exact number of sheep here, can I take one home?" she asked. The shepherd chuckled, thinking there was no way she'd get it right. "Sure, why not?" Without hesitation, she said, 171. Shocked, the shepherd nodded. "That's exactly right. Go ahead and pick one." Excited, she wandered through the herd, found one she adored, and started cuddling it. As she was about to leave, the shepherd smirked and said, "Okay, if I can guess your real hair color, will you give me my animal back?" She thought for a moment and agreed. The shepherd grinned. "You're a blonde. Now, can I have my dog back?" Yesterday, I was at my local TSC store, picking up a large bag of dog food for my loyal livestock guardian. While waiting in the checkout line, a woman behind me glanced at the bag and asked, "Do you have a dog?" What did she think I had? An elephant? But since I'm retired and have plenty of time on my hands, I decided to have a little fun. "No," I said with a straight face. "I don't have a dog. I'm starting the dog diet again." Her eyebrows shot up. So I continued. "I probably shouldn't though. Last time it worked wonders. I lost 10 pounds, but I ended up in the hospital. I woke up in intensive care with tubes everywhere and IVs in both arms. By now, the people in line were starting to pay attention. The diet is simple, I explained. You just keep some dog kibble in your pockets and eat a piece every time you feel hungry. It's nutritionally balanced, so it's perfect for weight loss. I figured I'd give it another shot. The woman looked horrified. "Did the dog food poison you?" she asked. "Oh no," I replied, shaking my head. I stepped off the curb to sniff an Irish setter's rear end, and a car hit me. The guy behind her nearly fell over laughing, and I'm pretty sure the cashier couldn't breathe. Suffice it to say, I think I might be banned from Tractor Supply now. A father and his son went hunting together for the first time. The father said, "Stay here and be very quiet. I'll be across the field." Hours later, the father heard a terrifying scream and rushed back to his son. "What happened? I told you to stay quiet," the father exclaimed. The boy, trying his best to explain, said, "I was quiet when a snake slithered across my feet. I stayed still when a bear breathed down my neck. I didn't move when a skunk climbed over my shoulder. I even held my breath when a wasp stung me, and I didn't make a sound when poison oak started itching me. But when two squirrels crawled up my pant leg and said, 'Should we eat them here or take them with us?' I panicked." There was a man who had 4 sons. He wanted his sons to learn to not judge things too quickly. So he sent them each on a quest in turn to go and look at a pear tree that was a great distance away. The first son went in the winter, the second in the spring, the third in summer, and the youngest son in the fall. When they had all gone and come back, he called them together to describe what they had seen. The first son said that the tree was ugly, bent and twisted. The second son said no, it was covered with green buds and full of promise. The third son disagreed. He said it was laden with blossoms that smelled so sweet and looked so beautiful. It was the most graceful thing he had ever seen. The last son disagreed with all of them. He said it was ripe and drooping with fruit, full of life and fulfillment. The man then explained to his sons that they were all right because they had each seen but one season in the tree's life. He told them that you cannot judge a tree or a person by only one season, and that the essence of who they are and the pleasure, joy, and love that come from that life can only be measured at the end, when all the seasons are up. If you give up when it's winter, you will miss the promise of your spring, the beauty of your summer, fulfillment of your fall. Don't judge a life by one difficult season. Don't let the pain of one season destroy the joy of all the rest.